Today I'm just going to talk to you guys about taxes for your business. So I'm sure a lot of you guys have LLCs, or you do a lot of contracting or freelancing. I just want to talk about the various tax forms that you're going to need. So when you're working with a company, generally they're going to request a W-9 form from you. So it looks like something like this. Essentially it's just a request for taxpayer identification number and certification. So with this, you just put your name in there, your business name if you have a business like an LLC, which in my case I do. So I'd put that, and then you would check, most likely you're just going to check individual sole proprietor or single member LLC. So and you'll just put your address in there, and then you'll put your social security number, and then your employer identification number. So if you have an LLC, you'll put that number in there. And then finally you'll just sign it. And I know a lot of people, like, if they get this form, they'll be like, oh, why you want my social security number? Like what are you going to use that for? And it's totally legal for businesses to request this form. They actually need to. So the reasons why a company needs this W-9 form is just to have something on their records when they do taxes. There's a limit for the W-9 form is $600. So once you go over $600, you're required to send them a W-9 form. So if I'm working for a company and say I do one job that's $300 and then the next job is $400, that means that I'm gonna have to fill out a W-9 form because the total is $700. So I need to fill that out. So if you've made $600 or more from one single company, you're definitely going to have to fill out a W-9 form. So don't be afraid to fill this out. It's really simple. So the next form I'm going to talk about is the 1099 Miscellaneous Form, which is pretty much the second most common form you're going to be dealing with. So the W-9 form is used by a company to get the information for your 1099 form. So after you fill out the W-9 form, a company will send you the 1099 form at the end of the year. So that's basically the two forms you're going to need to know. Say you're a wedding photographer and you decide you need to hire a second shooter for some of your weddings, and you pay that person more than $600 for the year, you're required to get a W-9 form from that person. And then you're going to have to fill out a 1099 and send it to them at the end of the year. So it's the same thing as dealing with the business. You kind of have to do the same thing as well. I recently was in California for like a month, and I needed someone to fill in for one of my clients. Once I hired someone, I had them fill out the W-9 form, and then basically at the end of the year I will just send them a 1099. So that's how that works. You're only going to have to fill out a W-9 if you're working for a company that's incorporated. So like any LLC or corporation, you're going to need to fill out the W-9. So if someone's just paying you just for a normal portrait photo shoot, and they're not a company, you're not going to have to worry about the W-9 form. But you're definitely going to have to record that income when it comes time for tax season, so you definitely want to have a record of that, because the IRS will screw you if they find that you're not paying taxes on your income. Hopefully that was helpful, guys. Not the most interesting topic, but definitely important to know.